welcome to the April meeting of MNRCC. Thank you for those who are here and those who are on the phone, and we're still waiting for one more. So we need to get an approval of the agenda for today. Do I get a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
And a second?
I'll second. It's Francina.
Okay. All right, any minutes for last month's? No. Minutes for February's meeting was sent out. Are there any questions or corrections? We have a motion to accept? I'll make it. Need a second? I can't do both.
Ron, second.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chair's report was sent out, and we got an email yesterday.
Got it.
And what I'll highlight is the work going on the Upper Harlem line, which should be ending very soon. And we also have major work at the White Plains Station. Have you seen anything going on there, Rhonda, since you're a White Plains person?
No, they put up a nice big mural to show pictures of what's coming and whatever, but that's it. I think that's not true. On the outside of the station, on the rail line on Fisher, you see them working outside, yeah.
So keep us posted on any improvements that you see there. If you see any things that are not right, let the staff know right away so they can get a hold of the staff, Metro North people to attend to it.
Okay.
Thank you. And we're going to have Amtrak trains in Grand Central again this summer, and so it seems, I think there are going to be a few more than they were the last time.
They said something, I read today, yesterday, they're using mob trains to come into Grand Central?
No, they're going to use the cab cars, the walk cab cars, because they have to have access to get out of the locomotive in case of an emergency, and theirs don't have it, ours do. And there was this T-Rex plan that came out yesterday. You want to talk about that thing?
I can. It will be politically different, to say the least. The plan basically envisions in a three-phase process, combining all the commuter rail systems in the region. So Long Island Railroad, Metro North Railroad, and New Jersey Transit, all as being run all as one system. There's a lot of tech that they did issue a report that's like 40 some pages. They glossed over a lot of the technical issues, although they did acknowledge them. But I have doubts whether they're going to be able to move very far. I mean, I think there are a lot of smaller things that could be done in the shorter term, like joint ticketing, for instance, would be nice. Where you might be able to buy, if you're going from Terrytown to somewhere in New Jersey, Princeton Junction, you could buy the ticket at one machine rather than having to go to two different machines and do that. There's a lot of little things that they could do that they haven't done yet, and that's I think that shows how hard this entire plan is going to be. Plus, they're talking about building additional Hudson River and East River tunnels as part of this in the next 30 years. Oh, and it only costs $71 billion, by the way. This whole thing only costs $71 billion.
Was that today's figure? Or that's today. That's today's figure. Now. That's
today's figure, and I think East Side Access only costs $6 billion. So it's basically twice that now. So it's a long-term thing, but I don't think I think there are a few things in there. We could look at the report and maybe get some ideas about places where there could be some more cooperation and make things run smoother. And then there also was if you're a Metro North fan or commuter, there was also a report issued by Citizens Budget Commission yesterday that basically talked about the differences in operational efficiency of railroads, Metro North and Long Island Railroad. Not a whole lot that we didn't know. We've known that the operating ratio for Metro North has been higher, considerably higher than Long Island Railroad's operating ratio for years. So they broke it down by dollars per mile and by number of employees per ride and that kind of thing. But the gist of it is, it's very expensive to run the Long Island Railroad and less expensive to run Metro North. And being Citizen Budget Commission, their takeaway from this is that there need to be need to be some labor reforms at Long Island Railroad to bring them back down toward the mainstream, which is very difficult to do when there's a strike threat and the powers that be tell MTA management to settle. Just take, just settle it. We don't want to strike. People will get angry. Just do whatever you have to do. And that's what they did That's what they did the last time they had a strike threat. So that makes negotiating pretty difficult when you're the MTA. So those are two things that came out yesterday that were of interest, but I don't think of immediate impact.
Okay. So freedom ticket is still a work in progress.
It's still, we've heard indications from the top of the MTA that they are still committed to doing the pilot, and we will be talking to Metro North sort of in preliminary manner in the next few weeks about how a freedom ticket would look in the Metro North territory, because obviously it's quite different. Most stations are near subway stations. Metro North has its own reduced fares for travel with dogs, that kind of thing. So it's a different situation than on LIRR.
Okay. All right. So this next board report should be done better. We had a board briefing about some items that are going to be coming up for discussion at next week's committee meetings. The board is going to be asked to approve the fare increases for the state of Connecticut, and we really don't have a choice about it. Unfortunately, going along with it are the service cuts. CDOT is proposing to eliminate all weekend service over weekday service, and anything outside of peak hour service on the new branches, New Canaan, Danbury, and Waterbury. I took a run up Danbury last month, and that's what PTC in operation, which is very interesting. So it was like a one-sided presentation that they gave us, and it was literally when they had complained about the service cuts. So at least they went on record with that. But they all said they were not for it, and if the funding comes, things will change. So that was like the highlight of the whole thing. There will be updates on East Side Access, additional time, additional cost is coming up, and this will all be, you can see it on the webcam on Monday.
Randy,
Yeah.
you put another $1 billion into the cost?
They blamed on Amtrak could not supply them the manpower that they need when they have to be out there working. On old business, the same old thing with New Jersey Transit keeps canceling all Western Hudson trains on the port service and the Pascack Valley line, and I've had communication with Metro North staff about it. But the bottom line is that they're short crews. Many of them engineers, specifically engineers, and many of them have come to work for Metro North because the pay is better. They're expecting to have this resolved by Labor Day, but still it's 4 months away. I don't think we can wait all that long with all the trains that are being canceled, and the breakdown, mechanical breakdown. So the 8 years of the previous governor where he started at J Transit really have come home to roost. Warren and I attended last week's New Jersey Transit Board meeting, and we also spoke about this issue. There are no answers.
But one of the things they've been doing now is canceling our Metro North Express trains.
That's the trains on.
And we really don't get a straight answer from New Jersey Transit on this. Is it canceled for mechanical reasons, or they just don't have a crew? Hopefully, the new executive director, Kevin Corbett, I worked for him when he was Chief Operating Officer at Empire State Development. that we'll be able to develop a contact with him so that we can get some straight answers out of him, because it's very, very bad for our riders that they keep canceling on Metro North Express trains on the Pascagoula line.
Yeah, he has at least been, he's been fairly candid about positive train control, although I don't see how you could help but be candid, because I know the press has asked him whether they're gonna meet the deadline, and he hasn't said they won't, but he has said, I can't give you any guarantees.
Or hand it to an article. We handed an article to the New Jersey Transit Board, the Trains magazine.
I did, I brought it out, Trains Magazine, current issue, had an article about positive train control, and what they were showing was the 6 criteria that the railroads can use if they have to get an extension of the deadline, which is the end of this year. And so we passed it along to the management of New Jersey Transit and said, well, we want to keep the trains running, so you can get any extensions, and these are the criteria, so we'll see what happens. What we're trying to do is get a meeting. We used to have an advocates meeting with the executive director of New Jersey Transit, and we're trying to work on getting those established with Kevin Corbett, the new executive director.
Of course, NJ Transit has another issue, because Amtrak has said they won't allow equipment that's not that.
Not definitively.
Yeah, they've said it and then backed off a little bit. I mean, so we don't know exactly what's
They
going to happen.
change everything else as they go.
I know, but NJ Transit has, NJ Transit operates on Amtrak trackage a lot.
Oh, I know.
Northeast corridor.
That was
So-
fixed, and
So,
right after that, they back and off. Same thing with the private cars, all of a sudden they can allow certain ones.
yeah, I know.
It's still political.
They're not gonna shut down Jersey Transit,
Yeah,
something like
but they're getting pressure from a lot of different fronts, I think.
There's also another issue I brought up at last week's NJ Transit Board meeting. We had asked them last year after winter to devise schedules that provided more service than they have been doing on weekend, on snow days, where they just simply put in the easiest fixes just to run a weekend schedule. But I told them people don't go to work in the snow because they want to, they go to work because they must. So they came up with these schedules, what they call the severe adverse weather conditions. And it's not only for winter, it's also for rain. And it allowed for one additional train to peak hour on most of the branches, most of the lines, and regular weekend schedule otherwise. And it was a level 1 storm, level 2 is just a weekend schedule. I raised this issue last week at the meeting, and I gave the secretary a set of schedules from the TA Boston and showed them. And I referred them to look at those schedules last year, rather than come out with separate schedules.
Walk has the same thing.
And I gave them the access to the MARC schedules, which is does it a little bit differently, but they chose last year to do the simplest thing, which was the wrong thing to do. So hopefully we have it out of this meeting. We'll keep bringing this issue up.
Yeah.
The May meeting is a PM meeting in New York. I'm really not interested in going, but there'll be children and there'll be other meetings that raise the issue.
You may want to mention to them, LIRR has taken a little bit different approach to it, but it's their severe weather schedules. They have a basically a set of trains they will cancel in severe weather, and it goes by level 1, level 2, level 3, and so forth. So they may want to look at that as well. I don't know. That's another
I think
approach.
the easiest thing is to use their daily schedules and just mark that certain trains will.
Yeah.
Like Mark did.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, that's very similar.
But the biggest problem, I think, is the person who does service planning up at New Jersey Transit is not highly motivated to do anything. And so he took the easiest way out on this one, like Randy said, and it's just not right, because what it does is it adversely affects us, because it runs the weekend schedule and there's some express service, and the trains run at the wrong time.
Yeah. No, I mean, weekend schedule is not what people want to get to work because to the degree it's overloaded like in mid-morning where people get up and then they come into the
Well,
city.
running a 4-car train at 6
Doesn't make
o'clock in the
any
morning or
sense.
7 o'clock in the morning doesn't help.
Yeah.
And they don't, that's the weekend trains, 4-car trains.
Yeah.
All right, what do you have for an opening update?
Just that basically, the congestion pricing is off for another year, so we won't see that. We won't see true congestion pricing for a year. What they did do is put a surcharge on the for-hire vehicles, the Uber, Lyft, Vias, and also on the taxis. It's $275 on the for-hire vehicles, $250 on the taxis. So people who are
January 1st.
Yeah, who are traveling below 96th Street will see that added to their fares. That's going to provide money for the MTA. Unfortunately, for the commuter railroads, it's going to provide it mainly to the subway portion of the MTA, if not maybe some money for NY Transit generally. The first year's slug of money is going into the subway action plan. Essentially, it's the state's contribution to the subway action plan, and then there's a city. The city also agreed to fund its half under duress that the state would just take their sales tax money if they didn't give money to the MTA. So there is $838 million available now for subway action plan, of which we are told almost all of it has been spent or committed, and there's still a lot of work to do. But for right now, we don't expect a whole lot more from Albany that will affect MTA, for good or for ill.
Right, next item is the update for our membership.
Okay, our membership. Actually, we have some reasonably good news on that. If you remember, we have three candidates that have been set up to Albany, and the latest word I have received from the governor's appointments office is they shared the names with the MTA, and the MTA is fine with them, which apparently is a regular thing they do. We later found out that the MTA basically is just doing an initial background check to make sure that the people appointed will not be problems, will not either be people who are difficult in their dealings with the MTA or have other issues in their background that might embarrass the governor. So we have three people who are sitting up in the governor's appointments office awaiting a relatively small number of internal approvals before they get their packages to start filling out forms. And they said that would occur within the next few weeks. Now, we have in addition to those three others, we have one Westchester appointment, which I think Walter Zulig is.
Yeah, I'm going to should be coming home for any day now.
Yeah, is pursuing, so we can do, if Walter wants to get in touch with me and we can talk about what we need to do, and we're willing to help push that
Okay.
to the degree we can. And we also have our Bronx appointment with Wilhelm, who was a member of our council. They told us that the Bronx Borough President's office is fine with him coming back. He wants to come back, but they just have not. They just have not gotten the appointment letter up to Albany. So we will keep working on them to recommend him to rejoin the council. And if we can do that, we'll go a long way toward beefing up our membership.
Put us at 100%.
That would be a miracle.
First
Yes.
time ever.
So, yeah, I mean, the Bronx has always been problematic, but They are at least willing to, they've committed to reappointing, so that's a good thing.
Did Marisol help us there too?
Marisol, yeah, we've been talking to Marisol, and she's been sort of our liaison, but it's not a, things move slow up there, unfortunately.
In Albany or
Both. The Bronx, well, they're similar reasons. The Bronx had always been very political. If we wanted to get someone appointed, the question was, well, what can you do for us? Rather than, like, can we find somebody who's good and rides a railroad and would contribute to this. But I think one thing that's changed their attitude a little bit is Penn Station access. The project to build 4 new stations in the Bronx and bring Metro North into Penn Station. I think that has woken them up a little bit, that they need to get representation on the council. So,
all right. So now we have new business, and the next item, first item is federal infrastructure.
you know, you know, as you know, there was a funding bill that passed that will fund the federal government through September 30th of this year, through the rest of this fiscal year. There was a lot of back and forth in the process, but what finally ended up happening is there was money allocated to transportation, not specifically to Amtrak's projects or to Gateway, but money that Amtrak and Gateway can compete for. And it looks like those projects are basically, they've given them enough money to keep them on life support and do some work on Portal Bridge, but there's not nearly enough to do the tunnel. There's still a big, you know, there's a big political issue between our esteemed Senator Schumer and the President on allocating the money. You know, it comes down to that Schumer wants the money allocated for the tunnel, and the President doesn't want to do anything that's going to help Schumer. So that's where we are. That's where we are at the federal government. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. I mean, the threat was that there would be no money available to advance Gateway, which is insanity. But it wasn't as good as it could have been because we're not any place where we can start where we can really get into the tunnels. We're just building the surrounding infrastructure that, you know, is necessary to be able to use them. And every day the tunnels sit there with little crystals of salt in their concrete. Is another day that they are deteriorating and getting closer to the end of their useful life. So I hope they move more quickly in the next budget year.
I have this on silent, I get a phone call, so we couldn't find the number. What's the number for Francis?
Oh, friends, yeah.
Well, it's just interesting to know that those tunnels handle 452 trains a day. So it's a real critical issue. And that Portal Drawbridge is so old that if it opens, they don't know if it will close. And it has the same volume of traffic on it. And sometimes you even have to use sledgehammers to on the trains.
We have the same problem in the Walk Bridge in Connecticut.
Yes.
In Norwalk, Connecticut. Every time they open the bridge, they have to have about 20 people there to help it close properly, because it doesn't always line up right. And they use hammers and everything else to line up the tracks. Same thing with the Portal Bridge.
Well, the
That's
bridge is 110 years old.
Now, this one's 120. Yeah, they're both old.
It's a swing bridge.
Well, with some of your, I saw one of your state senators asking why the Walk Bridge had to be replaced.
Yeah, I mean, he's out of time. Definitely out of time.
I don't know where she's been the last 20 years, but you know.
In La La Land.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
I think it was Bush.
No, Boucher's.
It was somebody else. But anyway, yeah, I did notice somebody saying, well, couldn't they just rehabilitate it? It's like, no. It's gone too far. It needs to be replaced.
It's rusted out.
Yes, it needs to be replaced. But anyway. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry you didn't get in.
Well, I'm going to need my phone on this. Well, we kind of talked about the Amtrak summer service changes.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing I'd add to that is Amtrak, and at least the spokespeople for Amtrak have said they recognize that Metro North is the host railroad on the Hudson line, and they will change their schedules to make sure that Metro North does not Metro North passengers aren't inconvenienced. So that they do have the right attitude at least.
Could I ask a couple questions on that? With Amtrak coming into Grand Central, supposedly someone from Albany is coming down, they'll end up in Grand Central and they want to go to Florida. Is Amtrak providing any?
Francis Corcoran.
All right, okay, thank you, Francis. All right. So
Will Amtrak provide a bus or something to get the people from Grand Central?
They didn't last summer.
It will not. The Amtrak claims that it did market research and it found that there were only a few people who would need it, and that they were capable of getting a cab and getting there on their own. But that's what they say. They're on their own.
I don't know,
Yes.
is that current, or that was last summer?
That was last summer. That was for they said they.
But that was just 4 trains a day.
Yeah.
Now everything.
Well, I think there were 6 or was it 4? That was 3 out and 3 back. 3 and 3. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, they claimed that not many people that were coming down from Empire Service were actually going points south or points west.
But now they're also adding the Lakeshore Limited, the Maple Leaf, and the Adirondack.
Well, yeah.
And all of the trains.
Yeah.
What about a cab voucher or something that Amtrak could do, at least if they don't have a bus?
they buy the ticket to New York. Doesn't matter to them which. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It would cost them a minimal amount of money to get a lot of goodwill. A lot of people wouldn't even bother with requesting the voucher, but they're Amtrak. They're Amtrak, and they have how much of the market share between New York and Washington? What is it, 80 or 90%, something like
By
that?
default.
So they feel like they don't have to do anything to.
But that doesn't
The
affect.
guy that's head of Amtrak came from the airline industry. Need I say more?
Yeah, they don't.
I mean,
I know someone who rides the train from Albany to New York, and she told me that the people who were riding that train absolutely loved the fact that it was coming to Grand Central.
Oh, sure, everybody likes
And they would have loved Amtrak to continue.
And it depends where you're going once you get to the city.
Yeah, well, a lot of people,
To me, it's a pain in the ass. I don't know that.
Another question concerning the FL9s that were in New Haven, there are 6 of them there. There was talk about
Yes,
Amtrak
there was.
leasing them.
yeah.
Is that happening or not? Or what happened to that?
I don't know, I know it's not happening. I don't know why. They're old units, and they haven't been maintained for many years.
They have nose doors. I think that was the main thing they were
That's
thinking
really
about,
But
right?
anyway, I think their workaround is they're gonna release a couple of cab cars from MTA Maryland. I hope it doesn't affect the Long Island Railroad getting their cars, because New Jersey Transit also has their eyes on getting some of them on cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well,
So,
They've already got a contract with the Long Island Railroad.
I know they do, but if they don't have a car, they give them to New Jersey Transit, they give them a handful up there. Say, sorry.
I would
I
think they
hope it
would honor
doesn't.
their commitments to the.
Yeah, I know they've informed. I think they've informed the LIRR that they have other demands for those cars. I don't know if that was a way of saying, if you guys don't need them, we can, don't take them and we'll use them somewhere else, or what it was. But I know they did. I know Amtrak did talk, or Merck did talk to NJ Transit and tell them, we got other people that want those cars too.
It's only one train set that goes to the Long Island Railroad.
Well, it goes up. It goes.
This year was gonna be 2.
They had one train set, and then they went up
Oh,
the
so
second
that's
year.
gonna be 2?
Yeah, the contract had them. I think the first year they just wanted to try it out, and then if it worked, they would.
I think Marcus and the rental business, they supply SEPTA with cars,
Yeah.
they supply all.
You know what? Rather than it get scrapped, they can be used.
I'm not faulting them,
They can use for a useful purpose. No.
Well, the same thing is happening in Connecticut with the New Haven to Hartford and Springfield service. They were supposed to have the bumped cars from the Shoreline East, but in their wisdom, they didn't order enough M8s, so they can't use the M8s on Shoreline East to bump those cars off. So they're going and getting them from Boston, and they've been delayed because they're in such terrible condition from Boston, they're having to practically rebuild them all. So those cars will come from Boston, and hopefully they'll make their target date of starting the service, but
This what, this
who
16th,
knows?
15th to 16th, I think?
But Boston does have a lot of old cars sitting around up there.
That's interesting, because we've been after New Jersey Transit, the last New Jersey Transit board meeting, there was an item on the agenda for $2.1 million to look at their entire rolling stock and figure out what to do with it. And, you know, we know that, for example, New Jersey Transit has 51 Comet 3 cars lying around that were never sent out for midlife overhaul. And this was because somebody had the bright idea that the only thing that they should use is multi-level cars. And so we did make a pitch for them to look at those cars and see if they could be resurrected, the Comet 3s. Metro North runs cars just like them.
Yeah,
On
All three lines.
all three lines.
they're good cars.
Yeah, and they're still giving a good level of service.
Metro North has maintained it.
Yes.
Cars have been out of service for at least 10 years.
Right.
But,
Just wasteful practices of NJT.
It's better than going. And, you know, I mean, certainly it sounds like a better option than going down to Virginia and getting cars from Virginia Railway Express, which did not work out very well.
Oh, they had all these,
Yeah, they did that several years ago, and they couldn't figure out how to make the electrical connections.
No, the VRE cars, though, what provides the base service in shorelines.
Yeah.
With the cars
That's
from
a lot
Italy
more
and Brazil,
good.
like Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they run everything.
Did those VRE cars originally come from Shoreline East, some of them? The Spanish ones? And Freddie or
They're from
something?
Brazil.
Coco. That's Spanish. Hispanic.
And not, it's not the same thing. It's from
Uh-huh.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
They are running.
Yeah, no, I know they finally, but it took, I think they were a year, you know, they were there for like a year, weren't they, something like that? So they were trying to figure them out.
yeah.
Well, actually, Metro North had VRE RDC cars that originally came from Boston. They used for companies.
Yeah.
All right, I think we kind of covered the agenda.
Yeah, the only thing I'm gonna say is these guys, the guys that are in the room, the members that are in the room know, but other folks on the phone don't, that I'm going to be retiring in the fall, probably in early October. So just, you know, as a heads up, nothing is going to change for the next few months, but just so you know, there'll be different face in this seat at some point in the future.
Oh, also, we had Kathy Rinaldi was appointed as the president of Metro North Railroad. She had been, what was her previous title?
She was previously the chief of staff to the MTA, well, she'd been chief of staff to Metro North, and then she was moved up to be the interim person.